The message came at midnight. Commander Dae-hyun was sleeping in his small room aboard the starship Horizon's Edge when his communication device started beeping. He opened his eyes and looked at the ceiling for a moment. He already knew what this meant. The Galactic Council only sent messages at midnight when they had a mission nobody else wanted. He sat up and pressed the button. A hologram appeared in the air above his desk. It showed the face of a Velith ambassador. The Velith were tall, insect-like creatures with large black eyes and clicking mandibles. This one looked nervous. "Commander Dae-hyun," the Velith said. "The Council requires your team for a special assignment. Please report to the briefing room immediately." The hologram disappeared before Dae-hyun could respond. He rubbed his face with both hands and stood up. His body was covered in old scars. Some were from battles. Some were from training accidents. Some were from the time he fell off a mountain on Earth when he was young and stupid. He was 43 years old now, and every scar told a story. He put on his uniform and walked through the quiet hallways of the ship. The Horizon's Edge was a human vessel, designed and built on Earth. It was not as pretty as the crystalline ships of the Orath, or as massive as the hive carriers of the Velith. But it was strong. It was practical. It worked. When he reached the briefing room, his team was already there. Lieutenant Su-bin stood near the window, looking out at the stars. She was his second in command. A woman in her mid-30s, with sharp eyes and a calm face. Nothing ever seemed to surprise her. Nothing ever seemed to scare her either. Hana-young sat at the table, reading something on her datapad. She was the team's biologist, a small woman with curious eyes and quick hands. She had studied life forms on 17 different planets. She loved discovering new creatures, even the dangerous ones, especially the dangerous ones. Tae-ki was already working on some device he had taken apart. He was the engineer, a quiet man who spoke more to machines than to people. His fingers moved fast and sure as he connected wires and adjusted circuits. He could build almost anything from almost nothing. Nari-ho leaned against the wall with her medical kit hanging from her shoulder. She was never without it. As the team's medic, she had saved all of their lives, at least once. She had gentle hands and a warm smile. But she was also strong enough to carry a wounded soldier across a battlefield. Woo Jin sat in the corner, cleaning his pulse rifle. He was the weapons specialist, a large man with a shaved head and serious eyes. He did not talk much, but when he did, people listened. He had been a soldier since he was 18 years old. Gina Q was the youngest member of the team. She handled communications and technology. Her fingers danced across holographic keyboards faster than anyone Dae-hyun had ever seen. She could hack into almost any system and translate almost any language. "Does anyone know what this is about?" Hana asked, without looking up from her datapad. "No," Dae-hyun said. "But I have a feeling we are not going to like it." The door opened and 3 alien ambassadors entered the room. A Velith, an Orath, and a creature from a species Dae-hyun did not recognize. The Orath was a being made of living crystal, its body glowing with soft blue light. It moved slowly, carefully, as if afraid it might break something. The Velith activated a holographic display. A planet appeared in the center of the room. It was dark, red, and orange, covered in swirling storms and jagged mountains. Lightning flashed across its surface constantly. "This is Keth 9, the Velith said. "It has been classified as a Class 15. Deathworld. The highest danger rating possible." Su-bin raised an eyebrow. "I did not know the scale went that high." "It did not." The Orath hummed. "We created Class 15 specifically for this planet." The hologram changed to show images from previous expeditions. Ships crashing, soldiers running, creatures with too many teeth and too many claws attacking from all directions, storms of acid melting through armor, the ground itself opening up to swallow people whole. 17 expeditions have been sent to Keth 9, the Velith continued. All 17 have failed, Over 2,000 soldiers from 12 different species have died on that planet. The longest any team survived was 6 standard hours. Wu Jin stopped cleaning his rifle. 6 hours? The planet is alive, the Orth said. Not just the creatures on it. The planet itself. It has a consciousness. It thinks. It plans. It evolves new ways to kill anything that lands on its surface. Dae-hyun crossed his arms. Yes. The Velith's mandibles clicked nervously. The Council believes that humans may have a chance where other species have failed. Your homeworld, Earth, is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. You evolved in an environment of constant danger. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, extreme temperatures. Your species has survived extinction events that would have ended any other civilization. Hana laughed softly. You want us to go, because we are used to things trying to kill us. Essentially, yes. Dae-hyun looked at his team. Soo-bin met his eyes and nodded slightly. Tae-ki shrugged and continued working on his device. Nari checked her medical supplies. Wu Jin loaded a fresh power cell into his rifle. Gina was already researching Keth-9 on her datapad. What is the mission objective? Dae-hyun asked. Survival. The Orth said. Observation. Understanding. We need to know if Keth-9 can ever be approached safely. If there is any way to communicate with its consciousness. If there is any hope at all. And if there is no hope, the aliens did not answer. They did not need to. Dae-hyun took a deep breath. He thought about Earth. He thought about the tigers and sharks and volcanoes. He thought about the ice ages and the plagues and the wars. Humanity had survived all of it. They had not just survived, they had thrived. We leave in 6 hours, he said. Get your gear ready. The alien ambassadors watched as the humans filed out of the briefing room. They did not understand why the humans were not afraid. They did not understand why some of them were actually smiling. They are walking to their deaths, the Velith whispered. Perhaps, the Orth hummed. Or perhaps we have finally found a species as stubborn as that planet. In the hallway, Hana walked beside Dae-hyun. A living planet that evolves new ways to kill things, she said. That is actually fascinating. Dae-hyun shook his head. You have a strange definition of fascinating. I am a biologist. Everything alive is fascinating to me. Even things that want to eat me. Behind them, Wu Jin checked his ammunition. Tae-ki calculated shield frequencies. Nari reviewed xenobiology, medical procedures. Soo-bin studied tactical maps of the planet's surface. Gina tried to find any communication signals coming from Keth-9. They were not heroes. They were not special. They were just humans, doing what humans had always done. They were going somewhere dangerous because someone had to go. They were going to survive because giving up was not something humans knew how to do. The stars outside the window seemed very cold and very far away. Somewhere among them, a planet waited. A planet that had killed thousands. A planet that had never been defeated. It did not know what was coming. The shuttle shook violently as it entered the atmosphere of Keth-9. Dae-hyun gripped his safety harness and watched the windows turn orange with heat. Acid rain began to hit the hull, making sounds like tiny explosions. Hull integrity at 92%. Tae-ki announced from his station. His voice was calm, as if he was reading a weather report. The acid is stronger than we expected. Releasing counter compound, Hana said. She pressed a button on her console. A blue liquid sprayed across the outside of the shuttle, neutralizing the acid. She had created this compound herself, using research from Earth's volcanic hot springs. Bacteria that lived in those springs had evolved to survive in acidic environments. Hana had learned their secrets. The shuttle continued to fall through the red sky. Lightning struck nearby, close enough to make the lights flicker. The wind pushed them sideways. Then up, then down. Gina fought with the controls, her face tight with concentration. I can see the surface, she said. It looks bad. Through the windows, they could see what she meant. The ground below was not like any ground they had seen before. It moved. It pulsed. It looked like the skin of some enormous creature. Black mountains rose in the distance, their peaks sharp as knives. Forests of twisted trees surrounded a relatively flat area that might work as a landing zone. "Take us down there," Dae-hyun ordered, pointing at the flat area. The landing was rough but successful. The shuttle's legs sank slightly into the ground, which felt soft and organic. For a moment, everyone was silent. They could hear sounds coming from outside. Strange sounds, clicking and growling and something that might have been breathing. Dae-hyun stood up. "Weapons ready. Tae-ki, activate the portable shields. Nari, stay close to the group. Gina, keep monitoring all frequencies. Let us see what we are dealing with." The door opened. The air hit them first. It was thick and hot and smelled like metal and rotting plants. Dae-hyun's lungs burned for a moment before the filters in his mask adjusted. He stepped onto the surface of Keth 9, his boots sinking slightly into the fleshy ground. The sky above was dark orange, filled with swirling clouds and constant lightning. The trees nearby were black and twisted, their bark covered in what looked like razor blades. Everything was wrong here. Everything felt hungry. "Movement," Woo-jin said quietly. He raised his rifle. Multiple targets. Coming fast, they came from the sky. Creatures with wings made of overlapping blades. Bodies like nightmares. Mouths filled with teeth that glowed with some kind of poison. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds, descending on the human team like a living storm. Woo-jin fired first. His pulse rifle sent bright bolts of energy into the swarm, cutting through wings and bodies. Subin fired beside him, her shots precise and deadly. Tae-ki activated the electromagnetic barriers, creating a dome of protective energy around the group. The creatures hit the barrier and screamed. Some of them burned. Others bounced away. But more kept coming, smashing against the shield again and again. "The barrier will not hold forever," Tae-ki said. "We need to move." Dae-hyun looked around quickly. He saw a rock formation nearby, large enough to provide cover. "There! Everyone move!" They ran as a group, staying inside the protective bubble of Tae-ki's barrier. The creatures followed, screaming with rage. One of them managed to get through a gap in the shield and slashed at Subin's arm. Blood sprayed across the ground. Nari was there instantly. She grabbed Subin's arm and applied medical gel while still running. "Shallow cut. You will be fine." "I know," Subin said. She did not even slow down. They reached the rock formation and took cover. The creatures circled above, looking for a way in. Woo-jin continued to fire, dropping them one by one. Hana was scanning them with her equipment, collecting data even in the middle of combat. "Fascinating," she muttered. "Their blade wings are made of crystallized calcium, similar to bones but much harder. And their poison appears to be a neurotoxin that causes paralysis. Can you save the science lesson for later?" Woo-jin asked. "Science might save your life," Hana replied calmly. After 10 minutes, the swarm retreated. The creatures flew back toward the Black Mountains, leaving behind dozens of their dead. The humans breathed heavily, but they were all still standing. Then the ground attacked. Beneath their feet, something moved. Roots or tentacles burst from the soil, trying to wrap around their legs. The fleshy ground opened in several places, revealing mouths filled with grinding teeth. A purple gas began to rise from cracks in the surface. "Masks sealed," Dae-hyun ordered. They sealed their helmets just before the gas reached them. Tae-ki burned the roots with a plasma torch. Subin cut the tentacles with her combat knife. They worked together without needing to speak, each person knowing their role. But something else was happening. Something inside their minds. Gina suddenly stopped moving. Her eyes went wide behind her helmet visor. "I can hear it," she whispered. The planet. It is talking to me. Block it out, Dae-hyun commanded. It is so loud. It wants us to give up. It wants us to lie down and die. It says death will be peaceful. The fungal network beneath the ground was trying to infiltrate their minds. It sent waves of despair, images of failure, voices telling them that resistance was pointless. Other species had gone mad within hours of exposure, but humans had something other species did not have. They had evolved to distinguish between reality and dreams. They had survived millions of years of evolution that included deceptive predators, poisonous plants, and parasites that attacked the brain. Their minds were fortresses. That is not real, Subin said firmly to Gina. Look at me. What is my name? Gina blinked. What is your name? Gina Q. Are we dead? No. We are alive. As. Then the planet is lying. And we do not listen to liars. Gina nodded slowly. The fog in her eyes cleared. She took a deep breath and picked up her communication equipment. I am okay. I am okay now. Nari moved through the group, checking everyone for injuries. Hana continued collecting samples. Tae-ki repaired the damage to the portable shield generator. Woo-jin reloaded his weapons and counted his remaining ammunition. Dae-hyun looked out at the alien landscape. Somewhere in the distance, something massive roared. The sound shook the ground and echoed off the mountains. Whatever made that sound was much bigger than the flying creatures. Much more dangerous. The planet is testing us, Hana said, looking at her data. Every attack so far has been designed to find our weaknesses. The acid for our equipment. The flying creatures for direct combat. The ground attacks for mobility. The mental assault for our minds. And we passed the tests? Woo-jin asked. So far. But I think the tests will get harder. As if hearing her words, the ground began to shake again. The twisted black trees started to move, pulling their roots from the soil and walking toward the human camp on wooden legs. Their razor bark branches reached out like arms. Everyone ready? Dae-hyun asked. His team nodded. They were tired. They were hurt. They were far from home on a planet that wanted them dead. But they were not afraid. They were human, and humans did not know how to quit. The walking trees attacked. The humans defended. The battle continued as the orange sky darkened into night. And somewhere deep underground, something very old and very powerful began to pay attention to these strange creatures that refused to die. 3 days passed on Keth 9. 3 days of constant battle, constant survival, constant adaptation. The humans built a small camp in the shelter of the rock formation. They took turns sleeping while others kept watch. They ate their rations and drank their recycled water and treated their wounds. And they kept living. On the first day, the planet sent its acid storms. Rain fell from the orange sky, burning through metal and flesh with equal hunger. But Hana had prepared more counter-compounds. And Tae-ki built collectors that turned the acid into harmless water. The humans drank from the storms that were meant to kill them. On the second day, the planet sent its predators. Creatures of every shape and size attacked the camp. Some were fast. Some were strong. Some could turn invisible. Some could walk through solid rock. But Woo-jin studied their patterns. Subin developed tactics. The humans learned to fight each new creature, finding weaknesses, exploiting them, surviving. On the third day, something changed. Hana noticed it first. She was taking readings near the edge of their camp when she realized the attacks had stopped. Not paused. Stopped completely. The acid storms moved around them, instead of toward them. The predators watched from a distance but did not approach. Commander, she called. Something is different. Dae-hyun walked over to her position. He looked at the sky, at the twisted forests, at the mountains in the distance. She was right. The planet was holding its breath. Maybe it is running out of things to throw at us, Woo-jin suggested. No, Hana said, checking her instruments. The biosigns are actually increasing. There are more creatures around us now than at any point before. But they are all waiting. Watching. Watching for what? The answer came that night. Gina's communication equipment started making sounds it had never made before. Not signals from space. Something else. Something from deep underground. She worked frantically, adjusting frequencies, trying to understand. I am receiving a message, she said. But it is not in any language I have ever seen. It is more like pure emotion, translated into sound waves. What is it saying? Subin asked. Gina listened for a long moment. Her face grew pale. It is afraid, she whispered. The planet is afraid of us. Before anyone could respond, the ground began to tremble. Not an attack this time. More like a summons. The earth split open in the center of their camp, and something rose from the depths. It was a creature unlike anything they had faced before. Massive. Terrible. Beautiful in a horrible way. It stood 20 meters tall, a nightmare made of scales and claws and burning eyes. Its body seemed to absorb light itself. When it moved, reality bent around it. The apex devourer. Hana breathed, recognizing it from the mission briefings. The most dangerous predator on the planet. The records said it killed an entire battalion in under an hour. The creature looked at them. Just looked. It could have attacked instantly. It could have killed them all before they raised their weapons. But it did not. It was waiting for something. It is a test, Dae-hyun realized. The final test. He turned to his team. They were exhausted. They were hurt. They had used most of their ammunition and supplies. But in their eyes, he saw no surrender. He saw humans. Hana, what do we know about this thing? Hana's fingers flew across her datapad. Its scales are almost indestructible. Standard weapons cannot penetrate them. But the reports mention that it fled from a sonic explosion during one expedition. I think its internal organs might be sensitive to certain frequencies. I can build a sonic disruptor, Taiki said. But I need time. At least 10 minutes. You will have it, Woo-jin said. He stepped forward, raising his rifle. I will keep it busy. Not alone, Subin said, moving beside him. Nari, stay with Taiki and Hana. Gina, keep recording everything. Commander, Dae-hyun drew his plasma blade. The weapon hummed with power, its edge glowing white-hot. We fight together. The apex devourer attacked. It was fast. Faster than anything that size should be able to move. Its claws tore through the air where Woo-jin had been standing a moment before. Subin fired at its eyes, not to damage them but to blind it temporarily. Dae-hyun rolled under its massive body and slashed at its legs. The creature roared with annoyance more than pain. It spun around, its tail sweeping toward them like a falling building. They scattered. Woo-jin was caught by the edge of the tail and thrown into a rock wall. He hit hard and fell. Woo-jin! Nari ran toward him, but the creature moved to intercept her. Then Gina did something unexpected. She grabbed a piece of equipment and threw it at the creature's face. Not a weapon, just a distraction. But it worked. The creature turned toward her for one crucial second. Nari reached Woo-jin and dragged him to safety. He was conscious, bleeding from his head, but alive. Just a scratch, he muttered, trying to stand. Stay down, Nari ordered. You have a concussion. I have had worse. Meanwhile, Hana was working with Taiki, helping him assemble the sonic disruptor. Her biological knowledge helped her calculate the exact frequency needed to affect the creature's organs. There, she said. That should cause resonance in its internal structures. 3 more minutes, Taiki said. Those 3 minutes felt like hours. Dae-hyun and Subin fought the apex devourer with everything they had. They used the terrain, the rocks, the twisted trees. They attacked and retreated, keeping the creature focused on them. Blood soaked through their uniforms from dozens of small wounds. "Done," Takei shouted. He activated the sonic disruptor. A wave of sound, too low for human ears to fully hear, washed across the battlefield. The apex devourer screamed, not a roar of anger, a scream of pain. It stumbled, its movements becoming uncoordinated. "Its organs are disrupting," Hana said. "But it is not enough to kill it. We need to hit its core directly." Daehyun did not hesitate. He ran toward the creature, plasma blade raised. It saw him coming and tried to strike him with its claws. But the sonic waves had made it slow and clumsy. He dodged. He rolled. He jumped. And he drove the plasma blade deep into the creature's chest. The apex devourer made a sound like a dying star. Its body convulsed once, twice, and then it fell. The ground shook from the impact. Daehyun rolled away from the corpse, his entire body trembling from exhaustion. For a long moment, no one moved. They just breathed. They just lived. Then, Hana started laughing. It was a strange sound in this place of death. But it was real. Human. Alive. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it." Far beneath their feet, deeper than any instrument could measure, the planetary consciousness of Keth 9 processed what had just happened. It had sent its greatest weapon against these creatures. Its perfect killer. The result of 4 billion years of evolution. And they had defeated it. Not with overwhelming force. Not with superior technology. But with teamwork. With adaptation. With a refusal to accept death, even when death seemed certain. For the first time in 4 billion years, the ancient mind of Keth 9 felt something new. Something cold. Something terrible. Fear. The planet looked at the small creatures standing over the corpse of its champion, and it wondered if it had finally met something it could not kill. Above the human camp, the acid storms parted. The predators drew back into the forests. The ground stopped trembling. Something was coming. Something was changing. And the planet was afraid of what would happen next. The silence was the strangest thing. After 3 days of constant battle, the quiet felt almost threatening. No creatures attacked. No storms approached. Even the wind had stopped, leaving the air heavy and still. Daehyun sat on a rock, letting Nari treat the wounds on his arms and chest. The plasma blade burned from his fight with the apex devourer would leave a scar, adding to his collection. He did not mind. Scars meant you had survived. "How is Wu Jin?" he asked. "Stubborn," Nari replied. "I told him to rest. He is currently cleaning all of our weapons." That sounds like rest for him. Around the camp, the others were recovering. Subin was reviewing tactical data, planning for attacks that might never come. Takei was repairing their damaged equipment. Hana was dissecting one of the flying creatures, still fascinated by its biology. Gina was monitoring her communication equipment, which had been making strange sounds since the battle. "Commander," Gina said suddenly, "something is happening." Everyone stopped what they were doing. They had learned to trust Gina's instincts. If she said something was happening, something was happening. The ground in the center of their camp began to move. Not attacking, not opening to reveal teeth, just moving, rising, forming. Roots emerged first, twisting together like ropes. Then came stone, flowing upward like liquid. Fungal matter wove between the gaps, glowing with soft bioluminescence. The materials combined, shaped, grew. Within minutes, a figure stood before them. It was humanoid, roughly. 20 meters tall. A body made of everything the planet could create. Stone for bones, roots for muscles, fungal networks for nerves. Its face had no features at first, just a blank surface of smooth rock. Then eyes appeared. Glowing orange eyes that looked at each of the humans in turn. Weapons came up automatically. Wu Jin aimed his rifle at the giant's head. Subin and Daehyun flanked the group, ready to attack. But something made them hesitate. The figure was not moving aggressively. It was just standing there, waiting. Then, it spoke. The voice did not come through the air. It came through their minds, bypassing their ears entirely. It was vast and ancient, and filled with emotions that human languages had no words for. Do not destroy me. The words echoed in every head. Gina's equipment went crazy, translating the mental frequencies into visible data. Hana's biological scanners detected massive neural activity beneath the ground, spreading across the entire planet. Subin held up her hand. Everyone wait. She stepped forward, lowering her weapon but not putting it away. She looked up at the towering figure made of rock and root and fungus. She showed no fear, only curiosity. You are the planet, she said. Keth 9. The consciousness, the briefings mentioned. I am Keth. I have been alive for 4 billion years. I have watched stars born and die. I have seen countless species rise and fall. And I have killed everything that ever tried to touch me. Until now, Daehyun said. The figure turned to look at him. Those glowing orange eyes held something that might have been confusion or respect. Until now. Hana stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her caution. Why did you attack us? Why do you attack everyone who comes here? Because they come to take, to consume, to break me apart for resources. I have seen it happen to other worlds. Species arrive. They strip the surface. They poison the water. They take until there is nothing left. I evolved to stop them. I became death so that I could live. The humans exchanged glances. They understood this. Earth had been exploited by its own species. They knew what it meant to watch your home being destroyed. We did not come to take, Subin said carefully. We came to explore, to understand. I know this now. I have watched you for 3 days. You killed my creatures, but you did not waste them. You studied them. You learned from them. When I tried to poison your minds, you resisted. Not with cruelty, with care for each other. Nari spoke up. So, why are you here now? Why are you talking to us? The massive figure knelt, lowering itself until its face was closer to their level. The movement was slow, careful, almost gentle. When it spoke again, the voice was softer, more uncertain. Because I tried to kill you. I sent my storms, my predators, my apex devourer. I used every weapon I had developed over billions of years. And you survived. Not just survived. You adapted. You worked together. You protected each other. You made tools from my own poisons. You defeated my greatest creation. 1. Wu Jin lowered his rifle slightly. And now I am afraid. The words hung in the air. A planet that had killed thousands was afraid. A consciousness that had driven species to extinction was admitting fear. To humans. To the small, soft creatures who had survived its worst. Afraid of what? Gina asked. Of what you could do if you wanted to. I am powerful. But you are terrifying. I have never met anything like you. Your bodies are weak. But your minds are fortresses. Your lives are short. But you fight as if every moment matters. You could have run. You could have surrendered. You could have hidden. But you did not. Why? Daehyun considered the question. He thought about Earth, about human history, about all the times their species should have died but did not. Because running and surrendering and hiding are not who we are, he said finally. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Predators, diseases, ice ages, asteroid impacts, our own stupidity. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and we are still here. Not because we are the strongest or the fastest or the smartest, but because we refuse to give up. We refuse to die. and we refuse to stop trying to understand the things that want to kill us. The planetary consciousness was silent for a long moment. Processing, thinking, feeling. Your world. Earth. It is a death world too. Class 12, Takei said. Almost as dangerous as you. And yet you create. You build. You love. You have art, and music, and stories. You do not spend all your time fighting. You live. Hana smiled. That is the point. Survival is not just about not dying. It is about having something worth living for. The figure made of root and stone seemed to tremble. Not from anger. From something else. Something it had never felt before, in 4 billion years of lonely existence. I have been fighting for so long. I have been alone for so long. I evolved to kill because I was afraid. Afraid of being destroyed. Afraid of being consumed. Afraid of being alone, forever. But the killing did not make the fear go away. It only made me more alone. Su Bin took another step forward. She reached out and placed her hand on the surface of the figure's hand. Root and stone and fungus. But also living. Also feeling. Also afraid. You do not have to be alone, she said. You do not have to fight. There are other ways. Will you teach me? Dae-hyun looked at his team. They were bruised and bloody and exhausted. They had nearly died a dozen times in 3 days. They had every reason to hate this planet and everything on it. But they were human. And humans did not just survive. They connected. They understood. They forgave. Yes, Dae-hyun said. We will teach you. For the first time since its consciousness awakened billions of years ago, Keth 9 felt something other than fear and anger and loneliness. It felt hope. 2 weeks passed on Keth 9. 2 weeks of conversation instead of combat. 2 weeks of discovery instead of destruction. 2 weeks that would change the galaxy forever. Gina worked day and night to establish a permanent communication system with Keth. The planetary consciousness communicated through mental projections and bioelectrical signals, but Gina built translators that could convert these into visual text and audio. For the first time, Keth could speak in a way that any species could understand. Hana documented the planet's biology with Keth's full cooperation. The planet showed her ecosystems that had never been seen by outside eyes. Underground forests made of crystal, lakes of liquid metal where silicon-based creatures swam, mountains that were actually sleeping giants, waiting to be awakened in times of danger. Every discovery was more amazing than the last. Takei designed plans for research outposts that would exist in harmony with the planet. Not structures forced onto the surface, but buildings that Keth itself would help create. Living architecture that could heal itself and adapt to conditions. The planet seemed excited about the idea of creating something instead of destroying something. Nari taught Keth about medicine and healing. The planet had always known how to kill, but it had never thought about saving. When Nari explained how humans cared for their sick and wounded, Keth was fascinated. It began experimenting with plants that could heal instead of harm. One day, it presented Nari with a flower that could cure infections faster than any human medicine. A gift. Wu Jin and Keth had a surprising connection. The planet respected strength and survival, and it recognized both in the weapons specialist. They spent hours discussing tactics and combat. Not as enemies, but as fellow warriors who understood each other. Wu Jin taught Keth about honor in battle. Keth taught Wu Jin about patience. Su Bin handled the diplomatic aspects. She drafted agreements and protocols. She established rules of engagement and boundaries of respect. She was creating the framework for a relationship between a species and a planet. Something that had never existed before. Her calm logic and steady voice made even the most difficult negotiations possible. And Dae-hyun talked to Keth about existence. About what it meant to be alive. About loneliness and connection. And purpose. The planet had been alone for 4 billion years. conscious but isolated, intelligent but unable to communicate with anyone. That kind of solitude was something Dae-hyun could not fully imagine. But he tried. He listened. He understood. "Your species is young," Keth said one evening, its avatar sitting beside the human camp like a mountain come to rest. "My kind was old when your son was born. But in some ways, you are wiser than I ever was." "Wiser?" Dae-hyun asked. "We fight wars. But you learn. You change. You grow. I spent 4 billion years becoming better at killing. You spent a few million years becoming better at living. That is a different kind of wisdom." Hana joined them, sitting cross-legged on the ground with her data pad. "I have been studying your evolutionary history, Keth. You developed consciousness as a defense mechanism, right? A way to coordinate your entire biosphere against threats." "Yes. The first invaders came 2 billion years ago. They burned my forests. They poisoned my oceans. I evolved intelligence to fight back, and I won. But winning became my only purpose. Killing became my only skill." "That must have been lonely," Nari said softly. "I did not know what loneliness was until you showed me what connection looked like. Watching you care for each other, protect each other, sacrifice for each other. I had never seen anything like it." The starship Horizon's Edge returned on the 15th day. It descended through a clear sky. No acid storms, no hostile creatures. The planet had withdrawn all its defenses to allow the ship to land safely. When the Galactic Council ambassadors emerged, they found something they had never expected. Humans alive and healthy, standing beside an avatar of the deadliest planet in known space. Laughing together, sharing meals, working on projects that combined human technology with alien biology. The Velith ambassador clicked his mandibles rapidly, a sign of extreme confusion. "We sent you to die." "We get that a lot," Wu Jin said. "But you. The planet. How?" Dae-hyun stepped forward. "Keth 9 is not just a Deathworld. It is a survivor. Like us. It evolved to fight because fighting was the only way it knew to stay alive. But it was tired of being alone, tired of killing. It wanted something more. It just needed someone to show it that something more was possible." The Orith ambassador hummed with disbelief. "The planet wanted to stop killing? I did." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, making all the aliens jump. Keth's avatar rose from the ground, towering over the newcomers. "I have killed 17 expeditions, over 2,000 beings from 12 species. I felt nothing. They came to take, and I destroyed them. But these humans came to understand. And when I tried to destroy them, they refused to die. They showed me another way." The ambassadors were silent. They had no protocol for this, no guidelines for a planet requesting friendship. "Keth 9 wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations," Subin announced. "Not with the Galactic Council. With humanity, specifically." "Why humanity?" the Velith asked. "Because humans understand what I am. They come from a death world too. They know what it means to fight for survival, every day. But they also know what it means to build, to create, to love. They are the only species I have ever met who can do both. The only ones who see me, not as a monster, but as a survivor who needs help learning how to live." The implications were staggering. The most dangerous planet in the galaxy wanted to be humanity's ally. A world that had destroyed armies wanted protection and guidance from a species barely old enough to travel between stars. Over the next several hours, agreements were discussed and drafted. Keth would allow human researchers to study its biosphere. In return, humans would teach Keth about culture, art, and peaceful existence. The planet would defend Earth and human colonies if they were ever threatened. Humans would defend Keth's right to exist without exploitation. It was the strangest treaty in galactic history. And it was beautiful. As the Horizon's Edge prepared to leave, Keth created one final gift. The Avatar opened its massive hands, and within them sat a small sphere of living crystal. Inside the crystal, a tiny ecosystem flourished, a piece of Keth 9 that could survive anywhere. "Take this with you," Keth said, offering the sphere to Daehyun. "A part of me to remind you that I am always here, always waiting, always grateful. You showed me that strength is not about destruction. It is about endurance, about compassion, about refusing to die and refusing to kill when you do not have to. I was a weapon for 4 billion years. Now I wish to be a friend." Daehyun took the sphere carefully. Inside, he could see tiny creatures moving, plants growing, an entire world contained in something he could hold in his hands. "We will come back," he promised. "And we will bring more teachers, more friends, more humans who can help you learn. I know you will. Humans do not break their promises. I have watched you. I have learned this about you." The team boarded the ship. They looked out the windows as the Horizon's Edge rose into the orange sky. Below them, the deadly landscape of Keth 9 spread out like a painting. Acid storms, razor forests, mountains of death. All of it peaceful now. All of it waiting. Gina received a final transmission as they broke through the atmosphere. Words that Keth had spent days learning to construct in human language, studying their culture, their symbols, their hopes. She displayed it on the main screen for everyone to see. "Humanity showed me that strength is not about destruction. It is about endurance, about compassion, about refusing to die and refusing to kill when you do not have to. I was a weapon for 4 billion years. Now I wish to be a friend. Thank you for teaching me that I could choose." Hana wiped her eyes. Nari smiled. Wu Jin nodded with respect. Tae-Ki saved the message in 17 different formats to make sure it was never lost. Subin began drafting official reports that would change galactic politics forever. And Daehyun looked at the sphere in his hands, at the tiny piece of an ancient world that had chosen to trust them. He thought about all the planets out there, all the species that saw humans as soft and weak and young. He thought about what they did not understand. Humans were not dangerous because they could destroy. They were dangerous because they could connect. They could take enemies and make them friends. They could take Deathworlds and make them allies. They could take loneliness and fill it with purpose. The galaxy had sent humans to die on a Class 15 Deathworld. Instead, humanity had done what it always did. They had survived. They had understood. They had refused to give up. And they had made a friend out of the thing that wanted to kill them. Somewhere below, Keth watched them go. For the first time in 4 billion years, the planet was not alone. For the first time ever, it was looking forward to the future instead of fearing it. And across the galaxy, other species would soon learn what the Velith and the Orath were only beginning to understand. Never bet against humans. They would find a way. They always did.